So a lot of people dream of landing a TED Talk. We all have this message, this mission that we need to get out to the world to change the world for the better that really drives us forward. But not everybody really knows what it's like to get a TED Talk, how to get a TED Talk, and the different intricacies of what you need to do to actually get that TED Talk to all the people who need to hear it. So just over 3 years ago, I actually delivered my first TED Talk, and we have over 45,000 people who watched it. So it's beginning to change the world. Like I said, beginning to change the world the way that we wanted. So today I'm gonna go over what it was like to actually go through the TED Talk, how I landed the TED Talk, the intricacies of actually spreading the TED Talk, so that if you wanna land one in the future, you'll know how to do it. So the first thing that I want to talk about is what I actually talked about at my TED Talk. And my TED Talk was titled, "What Would You Do If You Couldn't Fail?" And the whole premise of this talk was that there's really two places that we make decisions from. Our lives are just a series of decisions that we make in every moment of every day. And every moment, we're either choosing fear or purpose. And it's the people that choose purpose, that choose courageous action, that end up having lives filled with more money, more meaning, and more freedom than they ever thought possible. But the reality is 90% of the majority of our decisions actually come from a place of fear. It comes from the part of our brain called the amygdala, which is essentially, if you think about it, it's the part that kept us alive when we were cavemen. It kept us from being eaten by saber-toothed tigers or short-nosed bears or falling off cliffs, things like that. So in my talk, I dig into the science behind what's going on in your brain, why so many of us actually make these decisions from a place of fear, even though there's no more saber-toothed tigers. I'm gonna go check the bathroom. They're not in there anymore, right? So we make these decisions from a place of fear, even though we don't need to anymore, and how to start making your decisions from a place of purpose so you can actually live a life with more money, more meaning, and more freedom. So that's what I talked about because in my opinion, if all of us, if the majority of us would start to make decisions from more of a place of purpose and less from a place of fear, we actually have a shot at solving a majority of the world's problems. Things like socioeconomic issues, war, hunger, starvation, all of these things can be solved if all of us started to take more purposeful, courageous action rather than taking action from fear. So my personal goal is to help 1% of this world make more decisions from a place of purpose than from a place of fear. And there's several ways that I do that. I do that through our high impact coaching programs, through Shit You Don't Learn in College, our podcast, our YouTube channel, through my book, and I did it through my TED Talk. So the first step to landing a TED Talk and really having that experience is you have to have a deep why and you have to have a great concept or idea that you're gonna talk about. That's step one. Now, the next thing that everybody talks about or asks me about is, Zander, what was it like? What was it like to get on the TEDx stage? What was it like to meet the other speakers and everything like that? Well, so first of all, the other speakers were great. There was a lot of amazing topics that were discussed. One of them actually discussed how the subconscious mind is actually part of the reason that we can actually establish physical ailments, things like autoimmune disorders and things like that can actually happen from the subconscious mind. That was really cool. Another person talked about the pandemic in the pharmaceutical industry and how over 60% of pharmaceutical drugs are actually not real. Crazy, crazy stuff. So there's these really cool ideas that everybody was talking about. And I got to meet all these other amazing speakers. And to be honest, that was probably the coolest part of the experience, was meeting a dozen other amazing entrepreneurs and influencers and world changers, and all the ideas that really made them passionate and really drove them to do the things that they do. So that was actually one of the coolest parts of the experience. So a lot of people ask me, were you nervous? Hell yeah, I was nervous. Right? Of course I was nervous. Now, at this point, I had already spoken in front of really large audiences. I speak regularly in front of hundreds of people, thousands of people. The audience at the TED Talk was just around 300, 350 people. It was out in Phoenix, Arizona. So it definitely wasn't the biggest audience that I got to talk to, but it was a different level of experience because you're really on that world stage that a lot of people are looking to when TED decides to put you up there in front of that big red sign. So it was a little bit different of an experience when you get that opportunity to be on that world stage in front of the TEDx audience and in front of that sign. Now, one of the things that I didn't like was how structured you actually have to be when you're giving a TED Talk. I'm used to being very free-flowing. I'm used to walking all over the stage, waving my hands, engaging the audience. not really something that they do at TED. Now, I still did it. They told me not to, and I still did it. I still engaged the audience, and I still had them have a conversation with me while I was on stage. But they put you on a little red dot circle, and you're not allowed to move. I don't know about you, but I'm a pacer. I love to wander. So some of the restrictions, like the 18-minute rule, I could talk about fear versus purpose for 2 straight hours. But the 18-minute rule, the little red dot, these were things that were all new to me. So I had to grow as a speaker to be able to deliver on that kind of stage. So yeah, of course I was nervous, but how did I get ready for it? And that's what really helped me. So really, they help you prep. So when you deliver a TEDx, they actually give you a speaking coach. For a lot of the higher ones, higher level TEDx talks that you do, they'll give you a speaking coach. They'll have someone review your ideas with you, make sure that you're delivering everything well. So I actually got to prep for about 3 months before, and I really got to iron it out. I would actually take parts of my talk and I would deliver them to my audience on Instagram, in Facebook, on YouTube. I would deliver them to my audience just to refine the way that I was talking. The way that I always explain this to people, it's like a comedian, right? So before Joe Rogan or Kevin Hart goes on stage in front of thousands and thousands of people for their Netflix special, normally they test out new material at the Laugh Factory or something, down the street in Los Angeles or Orange County or San Diego. They test out new material over and over and over again in front of these smaller audiences of 50 and 100 people to see what gets the best laughs. And then they take that, and that's what goes in the Netflix special. So I actually did this for my TED Talk, and I think that this is one of the reasons why it turned out so well and it got such great engagement, is because I actually practiced little pieces of my material in different areas on social media to see how people would take it before it actually made its way into my final TED Talk. So now you've got this idea of what you want to deliver, you understand the process, you know what it's going to be like, but Zander, how do I actually land a TED Talk? Well, here's the interesting part. Everybody thinks that they're just gonna get lucky and they're gonna apply for a TED Talk and they're just gonna land it, right? Well, I kind of run the equivalent of landing a TED Talk a little bit like winning the lotto. Because you could be a great speaker with a phenomenal idea and you could apply at your local TEDx event and still not get it, and still not get it by miles. And the reason for that is because every TED Talk event has a very specific agenda, and it is a little bit political into how you actually get your talk into the show. So I actually applied for over 30 different TED Talks. That's right, I applied for 30 different TED Talks before I finally landed one. Because even though I'm a phenomenal speaker, and even though I had this great idea, they didn't necessarily hit with every single one of those talks because they have individual themes for each of those different talks. So you have to learn how to play the game, how to have the conversation, and sell the TEDx committee what you're actually gonna be able to deliver and why their audience will absolutely love it. So you're gonna have to get political, you're gonna have to play the game, and don't be afraid to apply to multiple TED Talks so that you can actually land yours. So once you've accepted that and you're willing to put in the work, there's really 3 things that you need to know to make sure that you land this TED Talk. Number 1, your topic and your idea has to be unique. TED, the idea of TED, the mission of TED is to spread unique ideas. So your idea has to be unique. Now there's thousands of TED Talks that are out there, so you gotta make sure that you're talking about something that nobody else has already talked about. So number 1, you have to have a unique idea. Number 2, you have to be great at delivering because they will ask you to send in a video of you speaking or examples of you speaking. So you have to be great at delivering your topic. And number 3, you have to do it for the right reasons. All right, TED is really big on making sure that your talk is out there to help the world. So they're gonna make sure that you're not delivering a talk just to get more followers on Instagram or just to get more clients into your business or something like that. Your talk has to be for the good of humanity, and you have to do it for the right reasons. So once you land your TED Talk, there's one more important step that I want everybody to remember because it's important to get a TED Talk. It's important to deliver a rock star performance when you're up on stage, but that doesn't necessarily mean success. In fact, of all the other handful of speakers that were up on stage with me, none of them got over 1,000 views on their TED Talk. There are thousands of TED Talks out there that never get over 500 or even 200 views on their TED Talk, and this blows my mind. But the reality is once you get the TED Talk, once you deliver the TED Talk, there's one last piece which is absolutely crucial. You have to promote the TED Talk. You have to get that TED Talk to all of the people that need it. That's right, it's not just gonna blow up on its own. You have to put some energy behind it, and then it'll get momentum and actually get speed and get going. But you're gonna have to be the one that puts a little bit of work. One of my good friends, Patty Aubrey, she's the former CEO and president of Chicken Soup for the Soul, and she says, you don't have a kid and then leave him in the alley and expect him to grow up great. So why do you write a book or land a TED Talk and then just leave it out there on the internet and expect it to grow up the way that you want it to? You have to take care of it. You have to nurture it for months, even years, if you really want it to get to all the people that need to watch it. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, go ahead and click the like button below and let me know that you did. And if you have any specific topics you want me to cover, comment them below. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any other great videos.